and this is Daniel Crawford here, and I'm going to be talking here in this episode of Bell to Bell, the review of professional wrestling over this past week. Of course, I'm a few days late on when I wanted to record this. I was wanting to record this on the 8th of November, but here we are on the 10th, so 2 days late, and yeah, it has been a crazy past week. So my goal is to make sure the next episode is posted on the 15th and no later than that. But if it's posted on the 16th, that's fine. But that's just my goal. Anyways, moving on. Let's talk about the top 5 matches of this past week, not including yesterday, Raw, because I'll cover that on the next episode. But I'm talking about the week spanning from November 1st through November 7th. So there were no events on November 1st, obviously, but Raw, November 2nd through to AEW's Full Gear. So the top 5 matches of the week, as I contemplated it, matches basically that were ranked 10, I chose the top 5. Number 1 for me, actually no, I'll end with that. Number 5, The New Day versus Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. I thought this match was really good. It was my favorite match on Raw that week, and it was just, it hit all the points that I thought it needed to make, and it's also paving the way for this tag team title match that's coming up next week on Raw on the 16th. So it's that's actually the go home show for Survivor Series from Raw. But that should be really good. But this match I enjoyed. That was number 5. Number 4 I thought was Toni Storm versus Shotzi Blackheart. This actually had a surprisingly good story behind it, as Shotzi had apparently requested that she face Toni Storm following her great job that she did hosting Halloween Havoc. So, that apparently the commissioner, William Regal, had granted her that ability to choose her opponent. She chose Toni Storm, and Toni Storm got the win, but it was with a distraction from, Mrs. Gargano, if you want to call her that, Candice LeRae. She had destroyed Shotzi's tank. So I thought the story and all this was really good. NXT is usually really on point, but this I thought was the best match of the night. Number 3 match of the week was at Full Gear, and that was between the Young Bucks and FTR. This match did as good as it could of living up to the hype of, we've been expecting this match for years, as FTR and Young Bucks have been kind of going at each other's throats now for a while on Twitter, especially on Twitter. So all the taunting and stuff finally culminated. They did a lot of they paid homage to great tag teams of the past. You saw the Young Bucks do the 3D. You saw FTR do the Heart Attack from the Heart Foundation. There was other moves from other teams that they did too, but either way, it was a great match that had a lot of nostalgia in it, and I thought it was great. Also, let's look at. Also want to mention that the Young Bucks also had, I think it was maybe Matt Jackson, did the Swanton Bomb in homage to to Jeff Hardy. I thought that was pretty cool. So, moving on, number 2 was Sasha versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship. I really, really, really enjoyed this match. It was a great, normal, traditional match to follow up from their hellacious Hell in a Cell match, which I thought was awesome too. But this match was great, and Bayley finally broke her curse. That was the storyline. There were other storylines involved in this, but that was the primary storyline. You were thinking, can Sasha hold on to this title in her title defense, which she's never been able to hold on to a title on her first title defense after she wins one. So this was great, and it was I was very happy for Sasha that she retained over Bayley, and I love both of these characters. But it was a great match, and I thought it was really good. But my favorite match of the whole entire week, all these matches were ranked 10, given rankings of 10 by me. But Omega and Paige was the number 1 for me of the week. Was definitely into the match. I was hyped up for it. I was surprised that it was the first match of the night. So you start off with a bang, which was really good, but kind of did some damage to the to the matches that followed immediately. There were some matches on Full Gear that I didn't particularly care for. I won't get into that right now, but I'm trying to talk about what's good about all of it. So I definitely enjoyed Omega versus Paige. This was a really good match. So now number 2 on our list here of things to talk about is the best backstage moment. I thought the best backstage moment of the week from November 1st through the 7th was the Firefly Funhouse on Raw. You see Alexa Bliss diving deeper into this character of hers as it's been twisted by the Fiend. And you see, and I noticed over the past couple of weeks that she has her gloves, and it's very much a reference to the Fiend's gloves. And instead of hurt and heal, it's play and pain. So I'm really a big fan of that. And you can see that they're taking this Fiend storyline and everything that it does to the men's division. They're going to use Alexa Bliss to transfer a lot of that to the women's division. So I like that. So it's a really awesome duo there. And doing a great job. Alexa Bliss is spectacular at this. And after she's done with wrestling, and I don't want to see her retire from wrestling anytime soon, but after she's done with wrestling, I would like to see her go into an acting career beyond this, because I think she would be amazing at it. So, yes, moving down here, the best show of the week. The best show of the week was the one show that had a perfect score, in my view, was SmackDown. SmackDown has been on point for a while. Now, I used to be more partial to NXT when I started watching all three brands. I started watching all three brands last summer. But I was partial to NXT for the longest time. But SmackDown, especially over the past maybe 3-4 months, SmackDown has just gotten exponentially better. It is such a good show. And I honestly, I don't know, it's hard to see where SmackDown gets it wrong, especially with the Jey Uso Roman Reigns storyline. Everything from beginning to end for SmackDown for me it's just been great. And yeah, I don't know, really awesome show, especially that week. So by all means, and I'm not saying I didn't like Full Gear, because Full Gear was a really good show. It sort of delivered. I mean, not sort of, but it definitely delivered. There were just some matches that fell more flat to me. Like, I wasn't the biggest fan of, I would say, the John Silver versus Orange Cassidy match. It was still okay. There was still some good spots to it, but Orange Cassidy is sadly kind of losing steam, and I hate to see it. So, anyways, that's just why Full Gear wasn't the #1 ranked show. That's one of the reasons. There were a few things in Full Gear that fell flat for me. So, number 4 here on our list of things to talk about, best heel moment of the week. So, Jey Uso doing the bidding of Roman Reigns. We saw that last week on the previous week on SmackDown, and now we saw it again this week. And I don't know, where you see Jey Uso's having this internal conflict where he's trying to show he's trying to show his loyalty to Roman, but at the same time he's conflicted and he doesn't want people to think that he's Roman's bitch, for lack of a better word. He's at war with himself, and I enjoy that. I think it was. And right now, Uso is a temporary heel. I don't think this is permanent at all. Obviously, they're continuing this awesome storyline with Jey Uso and Roman, and I can't wait to see where else it goes. Next, the story to me that is on fire for this past week was Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston, heading into their match at Full Gear. Now, I put a little note on here for myself that I thought that the other storyline that came so close to being the fire story of the week was obviously Uso and Roman. But I would be lying if I said that I didn't absolutely love the Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston story. I do believe that this has been wrapped up, but at least for now, because they're going to start building for the Revolution encounter between. I think it will be at Revolution. That's what I'm kind of sure of. But the encounter between Kenny Omega and Jon Moxley for the world title, wherein Omega needs to beat Moxley. He has to beat Moxley. I think he has to. Because I don't want people to get tired of Jon Moxley in AEW, and part of me, I'm a little bit worried about where Moxley's going to go from here after having the title for almost a year. But so far, I think he'll actually have the title for a year before they take it off of him. But either way, the Moxley and Eddie Kingston storyline, I thought was just so deep. You felt it, you believed it, and it was really good storytelling. So they had a great match, obviously, at Full Gear. It didn't reach my top 5 because there were so many other good matches in the week that topped it. That didn't need all the gore and stuff that you saw in the I Quit match. Next, we have the new rising star of the week. This person's actually not a wrestler. They're just a character in a story, and a lot of people may disagree with this. I don't care if they do or not, but I think Aaliyah Mysterio, I know that's not her real name, Mysterio, but at least I don't think it is. But I think she, as her character in this story with Buddy, a lot of people kind of lost interest in it because they don't like the age difference. Like, really? Who cares? But Aaliyah is a really good actress, at least, I think. I mean, I personally am invested in it, and I just think she's got potential for the future. I mean, she could have a very short stint in WWE, and who knows, maybe go on to trying to take acting lessons and stuff, but for right now, I think she's doing pretty good, so it's been enjoyable. Then we have the best promo of the week, Randy Orton, I think. Of course, you know, his promo in this week was interrupted by Alexa Bliss, then Drew McIntyre. So obviously he's coming out there and he's talking about how how he's got these two enemies now. He's got Drew McIntyre and he's got The Fiend. He has to watch over his back, but he was mostly focusing on Drew at this point. And then Alexa comes out, and then Randy Orton's anticipating, like, look, The Fiend's wanting revenge for what happened, you know, for his childhood home or whatever being burnt down. So I love this callback to that old storyline from a few years ago. But, you know, Alexa, she's just so demented in this. And then, of course, she introduces it. And as you think that The Fiend's about to come out, Drew comes out, knocks Randy down. And, of course, Randy and him fight back and forth. And then after Drew has knocked him out and he goes to leave, you see The Miz trying to come out and cash in on on Randy Orton. But then Drew knocks out Miz and Morrison. Kind of saves the day, and basically it says that if anyone's going to take the title, the only person who's going to take the title off of Orton is going to be Drew. That's what he says. And of course, next week on Raw, on the 16th, we will actually see Drew challenge for the world title, but we'll get more into that in our next episode. So yeah, I thought that whole segment, promo connected with all the interruptions and stuff that happened, that was probably my favorite segment of the week. That was like kind of promo related and stuff. So. Favorite commentary moment of the week. Now these are kind of hard for me to remember to capture. Sometimes these moments, like, I forget them. But there's some that will stand out. So don't be surprised if sometimes I forget to include this segment, only because I've probably forgotten what a really good moment that stood out was. But my favorite commentary moment of this past week was it was on SmackDown, and you saw Murphy just standing there staring into the ring as Otis and Seth are in the ring fighting for that Survivor Series qualifier match. And like Seth is kind of freaked out, and then Otis at one point is outside of the ring, and he kind of stares down Murphy, but Murphy stares back at him. And Corey Graves says something to the effect of Murphy just saw what his reflection would look like in a funhouse mirror. And the funniest part about this was that it was funny to me. I was already laughing about it, but the funniest part was hearing Michael Cole and Corey Graves trying to get past their laughter about that moment. Like, that lasted for about like a minute or two as they're like kind of giggling and trying to get over it. Like, I enjoyed that. Like, it's one of those things that Corey Graves himself is sometimes underappreciated on commentary, and I really, really enjoy him. I always enjoy him. Yes, so moving on. This week in wrestling history. So there were a lot of things that happened in this week in wrestling history. Like, I believe it was yesterday was the anniversary of the Montreal Screwjob. That's something that can't be ignored, because that was one of the biggest pivotal moments in wrestling history, because without that moment, you don't have the Attitude Era, the rise of Steve Austin, and the Austin versus McMahon feud. You just don't have that moment. Such a pivotal moment. But another thing that happened in this week in wrestling history was Eddie Guerrero wrestling his last match of his life. And it was supposed to be for a Survivor Series qualifying match. On that episode of SmackDown, he had defeated, I think it was Mr. Kennedy, if I remember reading correctly. I wasn't watching wrestling at this point in time, but I just read this. I was trying to research a little bit. And he had won that match by tricking the referee into thinking that Kennedy had used a weapon. So, typical Guerrero style. We all miss Eddie Guerrero, but that was those two big moments in wrestling history I think were worth mentioning. So, with that, we surprisingly come to a quick close for this show. And I was going to provide a little bit more of a detailed analysis of all the episodes, of all the shows this week. I'll try and offer a little bit more coverage in the future, as I just don't want to make this boring. But I will provide like what some of my gripes were regarding matches, probably for the next episode moving forward. So, if I can remember to do so. All right. So either way, thank you for watching, and we will catch you next week.